Oh, I know.
Maybe do that.
Oh, Tom.
School board.
I just was nervous.
It's a, oh,
He's running a writing campaign.
Thank you.
is he?
Him and Brett B. involved.
Okay, that sounds good, and then I'll stamp it and come back.
All right, well,
Okay.
I'll go ahead and do my
Spiel.
spiel. Okay, welcome everybody to the November 7th, 2022 Finance Committee meeting. I hope everybody had a great Halloween. Just quick housekeeping notes. For those on Zoom, Dr. Aldridge and Mr. Escabel are with me here in the committee room. Councilman Johnson is on Zoom. For those who will be making public comment, please approach the table and identify yourself for the record. And also, please make sure your cell phones are either on vibrate or mute. And with that, I'll have the clerk read the first item on the agenda, please.
Number 23, resolution authorizing submission of an application to the Wyoming Water Development Commission for grant funding for the Boring Wellfield Expansion Project in the amount of $7,035,000 and authorizing the Director of the Board of Public Utilities to execute the application and all related documents.
Mr. Brooks?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and Finance Committee members. Yes, what you have before you is a resolution authorizing submission of a grant to WWCC. We actually attended a meeting last week with them, and at that meeting, they did announce that they're not going to recommend several projects, ours being one, just because of lack of funds. So there is some other grant options for us that we're probably going to go after through their well drilling to keep this is the first part of the Belvoir, to keep that going. They have a grant program that they'll award up to $400,000. It's probably going to cost around $1 million to drill those two wells. So the board will have some out of expense funds that we'll need to do, but at least keep the project going and get that $400,000 from the Water Development Commission. And then we'll probably go back to them in a year and do the actual remainder of the project and see if that will look more favorable in their program. So I guess just bring for you today, there's probably no reason to take item 23 onto the governing body since we were not recommended last week for funding. So
Thanks for the
answer
information.
any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Comments from the public? Is there any motion from the committee? Please go ahead, Dr. Aldridge.
Chairman White, through you, I just wanted to say thank you so much for trying. It's a lot of work to put together a grant application, and I think that, you know, it's kind of like a crapshoot. You just never know. And I really appreciate that how aggressive you guys are in seeking grant money. So thank you, even though it wasn't successful this time. Hopefully it will be next round.
Thanks, Dr. Aldridge. Any motion from the committee? As there is no motion from the committee, there will be no recommendation from the Finance Committee on this item. Thanks, Mr. Brooks. Better luck next year. Thank you. Next item, please.
Number 27E, between the City of Cheyenne and Paladin Technologies Incorporated for the camera system and NVR system upgrades at the Cheyenne Public Safety Center.
Staff report.
Good afternoon, Chairman White, members of the committee. I'm Lieutenant Joel Hickers with the Cheyenne Police Department. This is an agreement from the City of Cheyenne and Paladin Technologies to upgrade to a network video recording system, focusing on select interior cameras, microphones, and the storage server for security cameras and recorded interview rooms at the Cheyenne Public Safety Center. Two companies, the Kubel Group and Paladin Technologies, provided qualifications for the project. It was decided by the digital evidence manager, Tressa Wellman, building maintenance manager, Mark Minari, and myself. In the formal rating process that is weighted through purchasing, that Paladin was the most qualified business for this upgrade. Within that upgrade, excuse me, just one more, I'll grab this document. The total cost came out to $53,993.81. This funding would come from current 6th penny funding for the building completion and updates. The reason we are in need of this is because the original migration from 2020 Capitol Avenue to the current building, in order to provide, at the time, a cost savings, we decided to pull DVR systems from our in-car camera systems, bridge those and make those our own quasi server. With that in mind, a DVR system is meant to accommodate for analog style cameras, but we had digital cameras that resulted in a bit of a compatibility issue. With that in mind, because they are an H to DVR set, we have had ongoing issues with either the recording systems not turning off when we put the switch to turn them off, or unfortunately at times at the loss of interviews. This is particularly concerning because most of these interviews take place at the Detectives Bureau, where it involves felonies more than likely. With that in mind, we found a way to balance it, but it is an ongoing thing that we're having to remedy. Because of that, we are wanting to update this. Additionally, we did not understand exactly what the acoustic interference would be in some of our larger areas, such as in our booking area. So right now, should you go to our booking area or should you go to our front lobby, we do have microphones, but all you get is HVAC feedback. It basically sounds like a fan blowing into the microphones the whole time. Luckily, since that time, the microphone capacity or capabilities has grown greatly, and in our testing you can hear just about anything in either of those rooms at this point. So we're also requesting a microphone upgrade. Along with that, because we have that DVR system, we want to migrate to a 32 terabyte NVR system, which is expandable. As Councilman Escobar pointed out a couple months ago in an additional or in a different meeting, we have a tendency to retain our evidence for a long period of time. This 32 terabyte system, which is upgradable to 64 terabytes, would allow us to do the same for our digital evidence.
Great. Thank you, sir. Stand by for any questions. Comments from the public?
I don't see.
Do I have a motion from the committee?
I would so move to approve an amount not to exceed $53,993.81.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments or questions from the committee?
Sure.
We'll go to Mr. Escobar and then Dr. Aldridge.
And just a quick question, because this is evidence, so maybe I'm watching movies, but how secure is this where they can't be hacked?
So this is an in-house network system that goes through our standard firewalls. It would be similar to any of our other video security systems. Right now, you have to have a username, a login, and then after your username and login, it sends a verification code to your email address, which also has its own independent login that you have to manually go through every day. So it's pretty secure.
Good. That's it.
Dr. Aldridge?
Chairman White, through you, I just was curious, there's a page 4 and a page 3 and page 4, they're lined out.
Yes.
I noticed that the prices are different. Can you explain what page 3 and page 4 were?
Certainly.
Same
So
question.
the original $47,764.56 failed to accommodate for installation cost upgrades. They didn't realize that the
Help you out.
yeah, used to do.
Chairman, through you to Dr. Aldrich, TJ Bartlewart, Purchasing Manager. When we were originally released the RFP, we weren't certain how much funding we were going to have. So we had part of the project was, I think it was specifically for the lobby. We didn't know we were going to omit those cameras if we were short funding. That's why there's a bid alternate that page number 12 of
22.
Yeah, 12 of 22. So that would be for the upgrade if we didn't do the lobby. So we did have funding available, so we elected to use the cameras in the lobby. So that's why I did a strike through. Now, the page previous to that was for add-on warranties, and we've elected not to do the add-on warranties. We're hoping that these are going to be minimal maintenance after installation, so we don't think we're going to need that. So we opted to not pursue those pricing options.
Okay, the second
Go ahead.
question follow-up for you. Normally when we get these, we see both there's a spreadsheet where it has both companies and their bids, and we're only seeing the one. Is there a reason why we're not seeing the second bid?
Absolutely, Chairman, through you to Dr. Aldridge. So this was solicited as a request for proposal, so it's a qualifications-based review first. So we only open the pricing of the highest scoring technical proposal and no one else. So this is the only pricing that's revealed in the evaluation process.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
So TJ, seeing as like Michelle brought up about the strikeouts, is there no warranty on this equipment now?
Chairman, through you to Councilman Johnson, it will come with the standard 1-year factory warranty on installation and labor and equipment.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions by the committee? Hearing none. All those in favor of this agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
That item moves forward with Mr. Johnson voting no. Next item, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 27F, memorandum of understanding between the city of Cheyenne and Laramie County Community College to provide commercial driver's license, your truck training for city employees.
Staff report.
Vicki Nemetchek, Public Works. This is an agreement that both attorneys from the city and LCC have worked on to take LCC CDL training and put it and help us to get our employees, if we want them, a CDL. So it's called the Your Truck Training Program. It utilizes our trucks and trailers while the employees would receive instructions from the LCC employees, trainers. And it does outline the responsibilities of LCC. It outlines the responsibilities of the city. It also includes what our responsibilities are odds, depending on the type of CDL that that the employee would be receiving. It would apply to most of the divisions in public works, sanitation, street and alley, our fleet mechanics all have CDLs. And it would be helpful to have an opportunity to continue to train them after the federal requirements change. So we do have some representatives from the CDL training program from LCC to answer questions if I'm happy to. I do recommend approval and
Thanks, Vicki. Are there comments or questions from the committee for anyone from LCCC?
Yes, do you want me to go for public?
I know it's a little bit out of the normal agenda, but since the folks from LCCC are here, I'll go ahead and ask if there are any questions for them on this item. Dr. Aldridge.
Well, Chairman White, through you, first of all, I want to make sure that I want to go on record as saying that I have checked, and this is not a conflict of interest for me to vote on today. While what I do in my day job provides funding for LCCC, it does not provide funding for this particular program at this time currently. So want to make sure that I'm completely transparent about that. But I also, in talking with Mary Ellen Tast and with Mike Geisler, who are here from LCCC, I know that there have been some changes in how they deliver this training, different than what level 4C indicates on page 2 of 8. And so I would like to, when we get ready to make a motion, make an amendment to update that so it reflects that accurately. Because these MOUs live for quite a while, and I want to make sure it's accurate while we get started, even though it won't change the content, it just changes the delivery. Also, in visiting with them, there is an opportunity for it to happen outside of the 3 weeks during the day, 8 to 5. If an individual from our employment decided that they would like to pursue this, and maybe it's doesn't pertain directly to their job now, but it might in the future. And maybe they're not a priority person to be trained with a CDL. But if they were willing to take this training and do it in the evening and not use work time to do it, I'd like to make sure that we have that flexibility built in so that an individual would be able to do that, and they do have that option. It's just not reflected in here because I think that we were probably thinking most of our employees would be doing it during work hours from 8 to 5. And so I'd like to make sure that we include that flexibility so that if we have an employee who is interested in perhaps pursuing this, they would have that option to take it in the evening versus using work time to do that, especially if we're shorthanded with staff. So, and then my last question is, do we know about how many people, and there's different types of levels of licensure listed here. Do we know about how many people we're anticipating we would put through the different ABC and I don't think we'd probably have anybody for hot shot training. Do you think? Okay.
Vicky Nemecheck through you, Chair, that we don't have a hot shot program, but it is like I talked to LGC, it is an option if we did need it or wanted it. The number of people that we would be putting through, at this point, we have only one person that we've recently hired that doesn't have a CDL that we probably would want to, but we would want to put to the program. But first, we want to make sure that they're going to work out as an employee. So, yeah, the probationary period, at least a portion of the probationary period, before we move forward, depending on how things go. The rest of the people that we're hiring right now, all have CDLs. So this would just give us another opportunity. We haven't done any hiring because we want to make sure this goes through. We want to make sure that LGC is willing to sign it. Because we did have an issue with the insurance. So we just want to make sure that we have this whole thing before we move forward with what kind of commitment is the employee going to need to provide us and in the form of a contract. And so we've got some other things to work out, but I thought this was the first.
Yeah. I guess one of my other follow-up questions is that because the CDL licensure requirements changed last January 1st, I think, 2022. Are all of the people who currently have CDLs, are they grandfathered in, or will they need to do some sort of an update training as well?
Through you, Chair, the licenses are good. They don't have to go back and make any changes or take any additional training. To the best of my knowledge, all of our CDL drivers are CDL drivers.
So even when I'm guessing it's like a regular, whatever kind of driver's license we all have, that after 5 years that they have to renew, and so then are they required to do any training for renewal?
As long as they don't let it lapse.
Okay,
If they let it lapse,
then they start over.
that is when.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the committee?
Sure.
Mr. Escabel?
Director, when we first started talking about this program, I think for new hires, do we have a reimbursement clause in there if they take the training, get the license and quit the city?
That's the piece through you, Chair. That's the piece that we haven't actually gone that next step. I believe that it would probably be a contract between the city and the employee, and that's what we've actually done something like that. So that's what I would say between the attorney and I think that's a contract that says what is your commitment, and what would happen if you do decide to leave.
Our initial thinking, 1 year, 2 years, anything like that. Longer.
Something like that.
Somewhere in there.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Any comments from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I would so move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments or questions from the committee?
I would like to move to amend
Okay,
to include the,
And this is in 4C. I'm sorry, can I just be clear?
Yes,
item 4C.
yeah, item 4C. That be updated to reflect the current delivery method of instruction. And that we also make sure that we have somewhere in here, that's probably in,
It's in 5.
it's about,
That's, it talks about the line. for
Yeah,
Monday to
yeah,
Friday.
yeah, 5I, that 5I be updated to reflect evening opportunities as well.
Okay, so the amendment has two areas. One is in 4C and the other one is in 5I. Is
Correct.
that correct, Dr. Aldrich?
Yes, sir.
And 5I was to do what? I'm sorry. Dr. Aldrich.
To include the evening hours for flexibility.
Clarification, can we have update current delivery of instruction? Like, I'm sorry, I don't like,
I guess the question is,
what is the?
what's the
current- what-
language?
That is just the. Sorry, thanks.
That's okay.
Yeah, so what we basically have done.
Could you identify yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Mike Dice for CDL program.
Thank you, sir.
So 4C, what we basically have taken these modules, instead of making them 1 hour once a month, now introduce on a daily basis before we start the day, so they get the full curriculum. Because if they're only with us for 3 weeks at a time, then they'll only get one of those modules or two, but now they get all 10 to 12.
So could we, sorry,
Go
we
ahead.
strike C and add professionalism Wyoming Highway Patrol DQ lecture and networking trucking 101 to the bulleted items under B, 4B?
Yes, that
Okay.
actually would fit under there.
So we can just strike the sentence that says entry-level driver training LCCC will provide the following additional training on LCCC campus, and then move those 3 bullets up.
Yep.
Underneath B.
Thank you.
And then, and are we good with 5I? Okay, so it's been moved to amend sections 4C and 5I. Is there a second on that amendment?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments or questions from members of the public on the amendment?
I don't see anything, sorry.
Okay. Comments, hearing none, or comments or questions from members of the committee on the proposed amendment? Hearing none, all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No,
The amendment passes with Mr. Johnson voting no. So we're back on the main motion as amended. All those in favor of this item as amended, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
no,
The item moves forward as amended with Mr. Johnson voting no. Next item, please.
Number 27G, professional services agreement between the city of Cheyenne and Terracon Consulting Engineers proposal for materials, testing, and special inspection services for new emergency response facilities located at Converse Avenue, Countryside Avenue, and Hanson Street.
Staff report.
Mr. Chair, Choir Matthews, Cheyenne Fire Rescue, what you have before you is the agreement to allow us to get our third-party testing. So this is actually true third-party testing. So we've had 2 separate engineering firms. This will be our third, it does our third-party inspection for our concrete, site compaction, rebars, grout, concrete, so on and so forth, up to 25. There's 25 separate items. With that, we would recommend approval, and I'll wait for any questions.
Thanks, Byron. Stand by. Comments or questions from the public? Hearing none, do I have a motion from the committee?
I would so move to approve. Well, I'm looking for the dollar. In an amount not to exceed $40,660.
That's the wrong amount. The amount's this.
$121,980.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments or questions from members of the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of this professional services agreement, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
As no one's opposed, that item moves forward. We do have one additional item on our agenda today. And clerk, would you please read that item?
Cooperative agreement between the city of Cheyenne and Wyoming Department of Transportation for 2023 epoxy pavement marking.
Staff report.
Afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is a cooperative agreement between Wyoming Department of Transportation and the city of Cheyenne so that we can piggyback on the back of their larger contract to do epoxy striping. So
Yeah, could you identify yourself? We all know you,
Sorry.
everybody knows you, but if you could just identify.
I'm the construction manager for the city.
Thank you.
Anyway, as I was saying, we want to piggyback on the back of one of YDOT's contracts in order to secure better unit pricing and their engineering services and inspection services. They essentially will just take care of this entire project. And this estimated agreement would be in the amount of
$139,067.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Stand by for any questions. Comments or questions from the public? Do I have a motion from the committee?
I would so move to approve an amount not to exceed $139,611.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments or questions from the committee? Dr. Aldrich?
Chairman White, through you, I'm just curious, if we did this outside of this cooperative agreement, what would it, do you know about what it would cost us? I mean, how much money are we saving to do it this way?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. We did it independently about a year and a half ago. And typically what ends up happening is the same contractor, we do not have local contractors who provide these services, so they typically come out of state or the northern part of the state. Typically what happens if we try to do them on our own, so we get the exact same contractor who's charging us a higher unit price and has already mobilized in here for YDOT. The state does charge us approximately about 30% over the estimated cost of the materials, but they do all the engineering work, the plan sets, the bid documents. So they procure all that. To do that in-house would be approximately about the same amount of money. So overall, we're going to save money on the unit pricing and the striping, but we're going to reduce staff time required. Most of these projects are done at night and they're difficult to keep up with these. And so even if it were a wash, in my opinion, it would be a good way to go because we just don't have the staff to cover these types of jobs. There are several miles of striping.
Thank you.
Thanks for that information. Other comments or questions from the committee? Hearing none, all those in favor of this cooperative agreement between City of Cheyenne and YDOT, please signify by saying aye.
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 As no one's opposed, that item moves forward. We don't have any other items on the agenda today, so this meeting is adjourned. Thanks and have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.